Playing Through the Storm by Kansas Wanderlust. Thunder trembled through the sky. Molly bolted upright. She scurried across the room and dove under the covers of her sister's bed. "Molly," Gemma grumbled. "What's going on?"
"The power went out, the nightlight's off, and so is the fan."
A crack of thunder made them flinch. Gemma took a breath and rubbed her eyes. She pulled off the covers and felt her way to the dresser. "Dad gave me a flashlight earlier. I know I put it..." She rummaged through the drawers. "Somewhere." Lightning illuminated the room for a moment, just long enough for Gemma to see the pink flashlight on top of the dresser.
"There!"
Molly shouted from under the covers.
"Yep,"
Gemma replied. She flipped the switch and the room filled with a warm glow. Much better. A branch slammed against the window, threatening to shatter it. Molly screamed and ran to Gemma, wrapping her arms tightly around her. "It's okay, Molly," she cooed, holding her close. Outside, the wind tore through the trees. One of the power lines had fallen across the street, sparks twinkling amidst the storm. "Hey, Molly, want to go for a piggyback ride?" Molly cocked her head. "Right now?" "Yeah, it'll be fun."
"Okay."
Gemma knelt down. "Can you hold the light?" Molly nodded. She wrapped her legs around Gemma, grasping the flashlight with her free hand. "Here we go!" Gemma took off running down the hallway and through the living room.
"Watch out for the door!"
Molly cried.
"What door?"
Gemma asked. She softly bumped into the door.
"Oh, that door."
Molly giggled as Gemma opened the door and ran down the basement stairs.
"Watch out for the couch!"
"What couch?" Gemma asked, then jumped into the mound of decorative pillows. A flickering candlelight made Molly and Gemma look up. Their parents were smiling down at them from the doorway. "We were just coming to get you two," their mother said. "Molly, dear, come help me with these lanterns." Their father sat beside Gemma. "Thank you for taking such good care of her." Throw up those moths and monsters, cheer for the story if you loved it. I don't think there's a kitty out there, but I'll check. Oh, no kitty. Maybe he finally found something else to do. Alrighty. I don't know if you had questions, Kansas, and if I missed them. Let me quick check. Quick check. Nope, no questions. Okay. Already come back. So yeah, if you have any questions, then you can ask them now. But once again, I thought this story was great. It seems as though you are on a realistic story kick, and I am into it. I am very much enjoying these more realistic tales from you. I think they're very, very heartwarming, very much tug at the heartstrings. No questions, just kind of having fun. That makes sense, and I can definitely see that. Yeah, I think this story works so. I guess as we're talking about this week, I'll say this story works so incredibly well as a standalone because it feels like the whole thing goes through an arc that last line is such a perfect way to wrap up the arc and the story, and I like it a lot. So this is a story that overall I think works super well. My critiques are mostly just little things that give me questions, but none of them are so big as to hinder my enjoyment of the story. And if I was just reviewing this outside of the stream, I probably wouldn't mention them because they're not that big a deal. But I'll talk about them here because I don't have much else to discuss. But I really love the imagery, the setting, the dialogue. I think it all feels very realistic, very evocative. I really like the word trembled here. I think that's really cool. Not just rumbled, but trembled. You know, like the sky is shivering or like the thunder's shivering. I think that's cool. I can totally imagine, you know, Molly, um, Molly shrieking and, you know, vaulting upright and then running to the bed and you know, cozying up there whether her sister likes it or not. Very, very cute. I like this a lot too. This very much feels like something a kid would be thinking, that it's like everything's off, like the nightlight's off and so is the fan, and that is kind of the thought process when the power is out. It's like, okay, like did the light just turn off or did the power turn off? No, the fan's off too, must be the power. But I don't know, I just like the specificity of it. I feel it's very realistic. And then I like, you know, it also feels very realistic to go, okay, Dad gave me a flashlight earlier. I'm curious if they knew that this storm was going to happen and that's why he gave it to her. But I definitely like that as well, that it's not just, I have a flashlight. It's, oh, Dad gave me something. And then this is very realistic too. Like, I put it, rummage somewhere. Very cool. I like that a lot. I think it's cute that it's pink for them. And I like that they're kind of helping each other, that Molly isn't just completely immobilized, which, you know, it would be fine if she was, because she's a little kid and she's allowed to be scared. But I also think that that's cool that she is able to be brave and she helps look and stuff like that. And I can totally... Granted, I just realized I have this image of, you know, here, let's see if I can do it with my sweater. Hi, kitty. Sorry. Like, I just imagine her under the covers, you know, like like this, that it's like, it's over there kind of thing. But I think that you probably meant she's just more like this, like, it's over there kind of thing. But I kind of love the image of the blankie hood thing. And you know, they're both being so brave, and Gemma is able to just be like, yep, that's much better, as opposed to being like, okay, finally we have some light, you know, kind of thing. And I guess I kind of like the almost like downplaying nature of it, that it's like, yeah, that's nice, isn't it? kind of thing, as opposed to like that was something they desperately needed. I like this image as well. Like I like both of these images. I think that they're very evocative, work really well, feel very realistic. This is very sweet. I'm a little unsure about this one. Because different places have different storms and stuff like that. But, because, like, well, I guess I can talk about, like, when I was in Seattle, like, the storms there are nothing. They barely show up, and when they do, it's just like, oh yeah, a couple rumbles. But here, oh man, like, they always show up a lot in the spring, and a bit in the fall as well. And the thunder shakes the sky for hours on end, and you never know if there's gonna be a tornado, and so it's a horrible thing. And so I don't know if in some places it's very normal for power lines to go down like this, but when I read this, I'm kind of going, things are really bad, you guys. Like, if there's a power line across the street and sparks are twinkling, like, I think this might be more than a storm. Like, this is a real big problem. You need to be calling somebody, kind of thing. And I don't know if that's the image you intended or not, or if it's just, you know, maybe that is normal for power lines to go down in the storm. I really love her being like, you know, you want to go for a piggyback ride. I think that's so cute, because it's very much like it reminds me of Rise of the Guardians, and how Jack is basically the personification of fun, and how you see in his memories that as like his sister. Oh, did I hear Kitty? No, I didn't. That his sister is like on the ice and is scared and stuff like that, and he's like, don't worry, like you're gonna be okay. We're gonna have some fun instead. And he saves her. This totally has those vibes to me. Maybe not that dire, but it well, we'll come back to that. But maybe or maybe not that dire. And she's making it a fun time for Molly, that instead of like showing her how scary it is, that and being scared too, and them feeding off of each other, she's like, hey, you want to go for a piggyback ride? I think that's so cool, and that's like, I think, great advice for how to deal with this kind of situation with a kid, that like making it seem less than it is, even if it is something really big and a problem, like trying to be like, okay, like I'll get you to where I want you to go. I'll get you from point A to point B, but I don't want to get you there kicking and screaming. I want to get you there easily, and it actually will benefit me to make it more fun for you. I think that's really cool, and I like that a lot. And then I like this as one of the prompt uses in the story, that it's quite simply holding a flashlight, and it kind of has this like symbolism in a way of like she's giving her a little responsibility, what little responsibility she can give her. Kind of similar to what I was saying before, that like I think kids like this. They like to feel like they're helping and like they have something to do and to take care of, and so being like, hey, I have a job for you, like a very important job. You're gonna be carrying the flame. I think that's really fun and cool. There is an element of which I feel like running is not really advisable in this situation, so I feel like it might make more sense if she, just marched or something like that, as opposed to ran. But it's still cute. So I think that the section of the story that causes the most issues, and this was the thing that stuck out to the folks I talked to about this story, is this section here. And so there's kind of this question of, I'll start with the door. So what door? Oh, that door. That's cute. That's funny. But it's hard to tell if she genuinely didn't see it. Like, is she running so fast that even with the light of the flashlight, she literally doesn't see it? Or is it like, no, she totally sees it, but she knows that Molly will laugh if she bumps into it. And so she does. It's hard to tell. And then with the second one, I think it's much more likely that she did this intentionally. But it also, at least to me, feels odd that the effect is not described. That this time, like, she giggles and stuff, but nothing is described like that here. That it's like, what couch? They jumped into the mound of decorative pillows to a gaggle of giggles, something like that. Just a little something about their reaction, I think, would be really helpful there. So I think it's a little hard to tell if it's if like this one is genuine and then she gets the idea to do it intentionally here, if they're both intentional or if neither of them are intentional. And then the other question from this section is, maybe it's just different life experiences, but it's a little odd that they're in the basement. I feel like it would make more sense. So I see three options here. So option one, it's the tornado shelter. Genuinely, they need to be protected, and so they go to the basement. Option two, that's where their living room is. Like, that is how some houses are, that they have like important rooms in the basement. Or it's just the basement and there's no tornado warning. They don't need to go there for protection. They just are going to the basement. I guess option 4 would be they know that's where supplies are. Like, they know that's where more flashlights are, and so that's why they're going there. But it's definitely this question of why are they going to the basement? Why don't they just go to their parents' bedroom or to the main living area or something like that? So not that big a deal, but a little bit of something. And I do think if it is meant to be, hey, we need to get into the tornado shelter, then I think that should be a little bit clearer. Because I totally, like I said before, like, I actually like the idea even more if it's something really dangerous. I think that's even better for Gemma to be like, hey, you want to go for a piggyback ride? And she's staying calm, even though she knows the threat is really bad. And she, well, maybe Gemma doesn't know, but the parents do. But assuming Gemma does know, I think that's even more heartfelt that she is keeping composed and she's able to go, hey, let's have some fun, getting to the basement. And she knows we need to be protected because a tornado's coming. But she's acting like it's just a fun time for Molly. I think that's even cuter if there is like that bigger threat there. But I do not think it's quite clear enough that that is the case, if that is what you meant. Because even though for Molly doesn't know that this is a big threat, I think it should be clear to the audience somehow that it is. And I don't know how you can make that clear, because I guess part of it is the fact that, oh, there's an ad.
Oh, there's an ad. What do you think, kitty? Oh, what do you think? Baby. Aw. Like that, huh?
Chin scritches you probably can't see. The cat is the host now, yeah. I wish I got a picture of it, but the other day where I was setting up the PlayStation, I had the computer on the edge of the couch, and Bella was right in front of it, and so she looked like she was ready to start streaming, and I wish I got a picture of it, but I didn't. Alright, looks like the ad is over. But yeah, so what I was saying is that I think part of it is the fact that there are decorative pillows down there, that there's a couch, the decorative pillows doesn't really seem like, oh, this is like the dingy basement with all the storage boxes and stuff like that. And so that's part of what makes me question, what is this place and why are they going there? Another question that I had is, how come the girls have a flashlight and they have candles? And again, this might just be different life experiences, but like, I have a ton of flashlights, and so we have flashlights and we have electric lanterns, and so I have a flashlight in my dresser, they have flashlights in their dressers. There are flashlights in the drawers in the common area. And so if there's a power outage, we're getting those. And so it seems odd to me that the parents wouldn't have flashlights as well. And granted, it could be a situation of, we have one flashlight and I don't trust the girls with a candle, so they get it. But the fact that the flashlight is pink seems like it was bought for them. Now, granted, flashlights can be pink if they want to be, but I don't think I've ever encountered a pink flashlight. I think I've seen yellow ones, green ones, black ones, blue ones, red ones, but pink is something specific. That's something intentional, and so that feels like, the kids' flashlight that they got for them. And so it seems especially odd that if that's the only flashlight they have, it's that color. What was I gonna say? So yeah, it just struck me as a little bit odd that they have candles while the girls have a flashlight. And then kind of a similar question with the lanterns. Are these electric lanterns or are they candle lanterns? And so if they are candle lanterns, and I'm correct that they didn't trust the girls with the candles, why did she tell Molly, the younger one, to come help with the candle lanterns? And if they're electric lanterns, why weren't they in the parents' bedroom? Why weren't they the thing that they had on hand? So yeah, like I said, these things are not that important to the story. It's just I don't have much to critique about the story, and so I'll just, say what I had to say, even though it's really not that big a deal. But I do really like the images, and I do feel like this feels very realistic to what they would say. And like I said, once again, a banger of a last line and a beautiful, beautiful arc, beautiful wrap up. I don't know if you intended this, but this also feels like another use of the prompt to me, that the sister is carrying the flame, that it's a little bit this idea of legacy, but it's also this idea of I'm going to protect her. Like, I love her, that's a kind of flame. I'm going to protect her, that's a kind of flame. I'm going to carry on my responsibilities, as her sister, and I'm going to carry her, That's pretty cool, actually. I didn't think of that she, does the piggyback thing. She's carrying Molly, and Molly is carrying the lantern, and so they're both carrying flames of their own kinds. But I think that's really cool. I like that a lot, because I feel like there are so many siblings that wouldn't do that. That's either like siblings who would be freaking out, or arguing through this, or not being like, why do I have to take care of her, or something like that. And so I do think it's really sweet that, this happened, and instead of freaking out or being like, I'm taking care of myself, fend for yourself, Molly, that she explicitly went out of her way to keep Molly calm and to help her and stuff like that. It's so heartwarming and beautiful. And it's really interesting, because I feel like this kind of line could easily feel on the nose, but I don't feel that way with it. That it just really works to me, and really feels like a good wrap up. And I guess maybe part of it is that is something a dad would say. It's also cool that you have both the parents, talking and having their role in the story. But yeah, so like the whole story is showing how she is taking care of her, and then the parents are like, oh, we recognize that you did that, and you didn't have to do that, and so that's really cool. I like that a lot. All right, let's see what folks have been saying. Rijo says, I really like that story. It's a bit eerie how everyone acts joyful and calm in front of the youngest while they hide in what feels like a bunker. That was very, very well executed. I love how it doesn't really end with a ta-da, just a slow realization that the storm's a lot stronger than we first thought. Okay, so you were thinking it's kind of a tornado situation. Interesting. Kansas says, I took inspiration from my life. When me and my brother were little, we had to stay in the living room, safest room in the house, during a hurricane, like in 2008. We built a fort and everything. Dang. Man, Kansas, you have been through the ringer. Like, you had a hurricane when you were 8, and then, I won't go into it, but all the stuff that we talked about last time you were red. My goodness, I am sorry for everything you have gone through. But I am glad that you are still here with us. But anyways, that's really cool, and especially does corroborate what I was saying about writing real life, that you weren't just writing a realistic story, you were writing something based on your real life, and that's very cool. And I think that is really sweet, that you guys were able to make the most of it and build a fort, even as, these horrible things were happening. So that does seem to say, I think you answer later, but that does seem to say I was correct, that it is really bad. Dorian says, very cute story, dad thing to do. My dad would do that and still does if we're experiencing a bad storm. Try to make the most of it. That's great. Kansas says, he was Molly and I was Gemma. Interesting. And my dad is flashlight obsessed and always gives me them randomly or during a hurricane. He also always taught me to keep little brother safe. I like turning scary situations into games. Oh, that's so heartwarming and sweet. Yeah, exactly. Corianne says, despite the circumstances, that's sweet and wholesome and adorable. Couldn't agree more. Kansas says, that was one of the biggest differences I noticed after moving from Houston to Michigan. Scary thunderstorms everyone is freaking out about are absolutely nothing. Oh, that's funny. I'm guessing in Michigan you have blizzards to worry about. Okay, little lady Eva says, power lines going down in the storm is not unusual in the Northeast U.S. Gotcha. Kansas says, the power line going down is what made Gemma realize that the hurricane was getting bad and she needed to get herself and her sister safe. That combined with a branch hitting the window. Gotcha. Yeah, so I guess that goes back to what I was saying is like, I can kind of infer that maybe it's something bad. Of course, my mind went to tornado because that's what we've got down here, but hurricane totally makes sense. So I can kind of infer that maybe it's a hurricane, but ultimately I wasn't sure, and so I do think something that's a little bit more clear about, oh hey, this isn't just a storm, it's really bad. We need to get into the bunker would be helpful. Oh, and Jeff says, one thing that kind of bothered me is the repetition of the beware the door. What door? Beware the couch. What couch? Kind of felt a bit weird, like an inside joke I didn't get. Got me out of the story a bit. So Redrev seems to agree that that was the part that was maybe the most clunky. Kansas says Gemma was messing around. Look out for the door. Then Gemma sarcastically going, what door? Then playfully bumping into it. Gotcha. I think maybe, in addition to my giggle suggestion, something like, because this is omniscient. Like, we're seeing it kind of from both their perspectives. And so going like, what door? Gemma asked, smirking. She softly bumped into the door. Or, what door? Gemma asked. She softly bumped into the door, smirking. Like, I think something like that would show, okay, this is a joke. This isn't real. Good to know it didn't quite work though. Fair enough. The second bit was really fighting the word character counter. That's also very fair. They're going to the basement to be safe and stay away from the windows. Gotcha. I guess, in that case, you probably could have, that could have been a helpful clue if you had some line about, Molly giggles, Gemma opened the door and ran down the basement stairs, where there weren't any windows. Something about that, though I think you just said that you were fighting the word count, so I guess you didn't have room for it. Maybe cutting out the jokes would, or one of the jokes could help give you words for something like that. But, showing, hey, there aren't windows here, tells me, aha, they're worried about windows, and probably would tell me, yeah, this is serious. The cat was always the host. Amazing. Kansas says, the candle thing was purely word count. I didn't have the space I needed to have their dad's bright LED flashlight pouring into the room. Oh, I like that, though! Flickering candlelight was more word count friendly. Gotcha. Were you also the person who ran into the character count, too? That would make it even harder. But... I mean, you could say, no. Is it? I feel like that, yeah, so that's the same amount of words. Flickering, well, I guess it's one more word, but, it is only 2 words, and I think less characters, so I think you could have just said, why do I want to say An LED flashlight? No, an LED flashlight made Molly and Gemma look up, Was that there before? It must have been. It just says, in my house, the electricity is kind of crappy, so blackouts are extremely common, and storm blackouts even more so. At some point, you just get used to the dark and all the candles or flashlights for the fun of it. they're that prepared and that used to it. It's possible that the light candle's more for the girl afraid of the dark than for themselves. Well, why would the candles make somebody less afraid than a flashlight would? I feel like a flashlight would be better. Gotcha. So Mako says, it never even occurred to me that it was a hurricane or tornado. It just felt like a storm to me. Yeah, so that does corroborate that it should be a little bit clearer. Maybe having the window break instead of just tapping it. Yeah, that could work, potentially. Thank you for the cheers, Mako and Marks. I feel like we don't see those two colors next to each other a lot because I'm liking how that looks. I mean, I would disagree, but so Redra says, I think that would have been too violent. The story works because of how playful it is, despite the dark implication, in my opinion, of course. Yeah, in my personal opinion, like I said, there was implication, but it wasn't strong enough. And so I needed something that was stronger, something that was more violent. And I guess, like, to your point, like, maybe that would break the illusion for Molly, that if the window broke, it would be like, okay, I know that there's a real problem here, but as long as it's like, oh, hey, pretty bad outside, but we're safe here, it's not getting in, then we can maintain the illusion that everything's okay. And so, yeah, there is an argument for maybe that would be a little too much to convey it. Like I said, I just need something to convey it. Cansas says, makes sense. Guess I need to find that balance between the severity of the situation while holding on to that playful nature. And yep, that was me running into the character count. Gotcha. 72% to the second encore, Death says. Thank you so much. Corian says, because where I live, I equate storms with tornadoes, even though that's not always the case. I just expect it to get worse, but hope it doesn't. Yeah, that's kind of my experience too. So let's see if we can think of other ways to convey, hey, this is a hurricane, without breaking the playful nature. Because it definitely seemed bad, like I said with the electricity thing. I was just, my first instinct was, that feels pretty bad. I don't know if you meant that, as opposed to, that feels bad, that means it's a hurricane. Let's see. I guess maybe this could be interesting. Maybe something you could do is convey that Gemma is scared, but is holding it together. Because as is, like I said, I can maybe get that a little bit. I can kind of assume that she's scared, but it's not, it seems like she's pretty okay. And so I think if Gemma also jolts, I don't know if that would have been quite enough, but I think especially if you did that throughout the story that, oh, Gemma's scared too, we would go, aha, this is something to be scared about, and Gemma is just holding it together, as opposed to, oh, this is nothing to be scared about, and she's just comforting her sister. Yeah, that's interesting, actually, because when a storm is just a storm, that's what you're going to be like, right? You're going to be like, oh, it's nothing to worry about, Molly, it's fine. But it is different when it's like, this is a hurricane, this is something to worry about, but I'm going to keep Molly safe. Then I do think that if you had been able to convey, I'm scared too, like that she's trying to not tremble, she's jolting too, that could maybe show, like, it's not just, oh, hey, it's a storm, nothing to worry about, baby sis. It's like, it is something to worry about. Could help. Kansas says, when Molly wakes up, Gemma, maybe have Molly mention the hurricane is here, the night light is off, the fan is off. Oh, so she knew it was a hurricane. So she wasn't trying to hide that from her? That does kind of change things. Mako says, maybe specify the tree branch wasn't attached to the tree anymore or something. Oh yeah, that it's just like flying through the air kind of thing. Like, I guess you could do, what could you do with that? Because you could do something like the shingles are falling off the roof. That maybe they see shingles fall down outside the window, or something hits the window that shouldn't be hitting it. Something like a piece of the next door neighbor's mailbox or something like that. Not that exactly, but something that shouldn't be out there is hitting the window, then I'll be like, okay, this is not normal. Have the tree branch fly into the window, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a good story when everyone's reminiscing. True. Huh, interesting. Kind of like the mailbox idea. Nice. Like the flag from the mailbox or something. But anyway, so yeah, you could have her say the hurricane is here, but I do think that undermines part of what I like so much about the story, which is, like I said, I read it as that she's hiding the fact that it's bad, you know. It's old man Peter's mailbox. He's gonna be furious. That's awesome. That could totally make fun of the situation. That, like, imagine like Molly sees this and she's like, "It's old man Peter's mailbox," and then Gemma's like, "Yeah, he's gonna be furious when he finds out." That could be real cute. But anyways, thank you so much for submitting, Kansas.